Know this. Introducing the original blood clot podcast, not players. Soothing Semantics. Special dedication all the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT Semantics. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing Semantics. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man now. Soothing Semantics.
Welcome to another episode of Soothing Semantics. Subscribe, like, and share. I am your host, Rafi Pinsky. Today we have Eden Safdia.
My man.
What's going on, homie?
Doing well, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend. It's a little bit hard from here, but cheers from afar. Cheers from afar, my good man.
So we know each other for a year and a half, supposedly. It felt shorter.
So quick disclaimer, guys. We did round one of this recording, and Rafi introduced me as his friend of 6 months. So I was a little bit offended. Rafi, come on, we've been friends for a little bit longer than that, man. It's been a year and a half, and we met through mutual friends, a couple of mutual friends here in the Aventura, Miami area. But Rafi did not give the sufficient credence to our friendship, and I'm a little bit offended, my man.
Sufficient credence. You've been using credence a lot, by the way.
Have I?
Yeah, it's a good word, but you've been using it a lot.
It's a good word when it's relevant, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now that we're going, let's kind of jump into everything you're about, right? So you do private loans, private money.
That is correct. Okay. What I do is I run a commercial financing brokerage here in Miami, Florida. We have about a team of 5. And what we do is we broker out small business loans to businesses in need, help them expand, etc.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely I can list your company on my podcast
of course,
if you're interested.
Please.
And if anyone needs any financing,
United Funding Group. That's the name of the company.
Go to Mr. Safdi. Where do you think we're headed in terms of the economy? Because now everything's more expensive. Most people are not getting more money, more salary, or increased salary.
Sure.
What do you think is going to happen in terms of people in their everyday lives? Americans that have already had challenges before the recession hit, what do you think is going to start to happen in terms of people going nuts, in terms of people losing jobs, getting laid off? Do you think things are going to become more and more challenging? Give me your spiel.
I think that it's going to be an extension of what's happening right now, and what's happening right now is that inflation is upon us. And people are already starting to realize that things are more expensive. Everyday things are more expensive. Gas is more expensive, right? This LaCroix is more expensive than it was, a year ago. And so when things obviously go up and their earning potential doesn't go up the same way, that's where the problem is, right? Because people wake up and they work and they want to, most people, I think, in America, in this land of opportunity, should strive for something, right? Should want to strive for something. And so if they're waking up and working and they're hoping that they're going to get somewhere, but in the interim, they're dealing with whatever they're dealing with, and they're dealing with whatever their salary is at the moment, if they're working a salary, they're dealing with the rising prices, the rising inflation, and the rising prices of everyday goods, right? And rent is going up, housing prices as well. I mean, things are changing. And so I think that to the everyday person, they're definitely going to feel the effects of it. In terms of pandemonium, I don't really know. I can't really speculate on that. But I think that people are feeling it in their pockets when they go out, when they go to fill up gas, when they go grocery shopping, when they go house shopping, when they decide what car they're going to drive, right? Cars are more expensive too. All of these things definitely play in. And I think that people are going to second guess before they go and just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just spend like easily, just spend so frivolously without caution, without thought, right? On whatever, Mm-hmm. And people are going to think twice before they do that. That's my overall thoughts. What's your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think that Florida, not as much, because we have, I wouldn't call it a conservative local government, because you really are pretty mixed here.
It's pretty mixed. Miami's kind of more on the liberal side, but Florida's
quite
in the
mixed.
middle.
But at the same time, the people who make the decisions tend to have pretty conservative views, especially DeSantis.
Yeah,
the cops are protected, the cops are respected. So if things get out of hand, it's going to be harder for chaos to happen as opposed to places like California and New York. But a lot of people are going through hard times and they're trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
And it's already been the case for many Americans beforehand. So I think now the negative is people are going to have it really hard. The positive is that the people who are willing to stick it out and push forward in any given industry, whatever the case may be, will have massive benefit because the people who can't make it and can't figure it out will fall behind.
I think that kind of goes without saying. Regardless of the time that you're in, regardless of the economic state of the country, regardless of your economic specific, financial situation at the time, I think that if you have this hustler, go-getter kind of attitude and this attitude of this victimless attitude where you decide I'm going to make it work and I'm going to figure it out, I think that no excuse is going to be an excuse that's going to, stop you from getting what you want. Ultimately, I think it's a personality thing, really. And people always use excuses, 10 years ago, this housing crisis, there was also problems, right? There's always problems. Every year there's something to blame, right? If you want to find a reason to not do the shit that you need to do, you can find reasons for it. Absolutely. My family, my spouse, the country, the city that I'm in, my job, my skill set, all of those things, except for family, all of those things are within your control to understand and change. You can change any of those things. So my skill set is weak. Okay, go learn a new skill. Go learn the skills that are required for you to go ahead and earn a higher income or do the things that you're passionate about or do the things that you want to do. Your spouse is holding you back. Okay, change your priorities a little bit. Change your priorities. I'm not telling you obviously to discount your relationship or whatever it is, but you have to put your growth first if that's something that is centric to you, if that's a focus of yours. If not, there's always excuses and there's always reasons for you to just be passive and be a victim and not accomplish the shit that you want to accomplish. And you know what happens? Time goes on, right? Time goes on, and then suddenly you find yourself 5 years older, 10 years older, a victim of the circumstances of your choices, really, more so than anything. That's a bit of my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, it's accurate. It's deep and it's accurate, dude. Yeah, it's very thought-provoking. It's the reality, bro, is even makes me think about real estate. I was
going to ask, what's your thoughts on real estate?
It's tougher for sellers than it was a few months ago.
Okay.
Sellers, I still find, and anyone who's a realtor will see this, sellers are still very adamant on getting the price they thought they could get a few months ago. They still are not, a lot of them are not willing to accept that there's a dip. Even though a lot of them know it in the back of their minds, they're hoping they can still get those prices. So time is going to show them that oftentimes it's not the case. There's still properties that are getting a lot of offers. It depends on the property.
I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Do you think that it's dependent on the agent? I mean, obviously it's also dependent on the specific seller, but do you think that any given agent can also manage the expectations of the sellers? Because if they're expecting this, right, and the reality is this, you have to show that to them.
The agent is a massive component, and every
agents move markets, man. Yeah,
every seller is different, and there's a way if you can click with the seller, meaning the right agent will be able to have that conversation with a tough seller, whereas the wrong agent won't.
Okay.
And you have to learn different personality traits, because if you as an agent are more of a driver and you're more direct and you're more blunt, and that seller is more blunt, then you naturally will have that hopefully you'll be able to have that conversation.
Or clash.
There's a lot of components, man. So part of that is experience. As an agent, I haven't been in the game very long, and there are agents that have been in the game as long as I have that have done a lot better. There's all these different components.
There's everything. In every single industry, man.
There's everything. So you have to understand who you are.
Yeah.
So as a realtor, I have to understand who I am and continue to improve.
Yeah.
And when it comes to conversation, a lot of it's going to be trial and error. It's going to be meeting with as many of them as possible and,
Sure.
and realizing what I said or what I didn't say.
It's a numbers game for
how
sure,
I
just like
approached it and how I
anything.
didn't
Yeah.
approach it.
Yeah.
And realizing that if I had the knowledge of the market or had the knowledge of this certain personality trait, if I messed up on one appointment, I can go and improve on the next one. There's so many
Absolutely.
components. So, for
Absolutely.
instance, now if I have a client who's very difficult, this is or they're very adamant on a price. So say they say, well, I want a price of 1.2, and market
Okay.
value is 1.
Okay.
They're 200K above market value. I'm
Right.
going to say, okay, well, what's important to you? Aside from, well, you're $200,000 above market.
Right.
They probably know that and they
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
You have to allow them to come up with that conclusion on their own, to self-discover.
I'm very curious. Have you done this successfully, or have you had these kind of conversations?
I've had these conversations never with 200K above market, but
Okay.
I've had these
But you have the same
conversations.
kind of conversation.
I have these conversations, and I've been able to talk them through it. And what you have to first discuss with them is motivation. Why are they even selling? Because if they're not motivated, then they might as well keep the house, or they
Right.
can sell it
Right.
on their own and
Right.
try it, and
Sure.
that's the end of it. But
If time is not an element, if they're just willing to wait however long
then
until
you just
they
let
get
them do
whatever
it, man.
bid they want,
and you just let them do it. But you can
Yeah, yeah.
you can choose to take the listing at 200K above, but the likelihood is you're going to waste a lot of time.
Right.
What might happen is you might, during the listing period, they may decide to come to earth and be more realistic, but there's not a high likelihood. So you have to decide as an agent whether that's a deal you even want to deal with.
I have a question though. Don't offers come into play too? Because sometimes, maybe I'm just thinking out loud here, but if a seller is thinking that they can get 200 above whatever the asking price is, and they're getting offers for
Well, no, it's not 200K above the asking price. Market value and asking price are different.
market value,
Okay.
market value, sure, market value, and then they're getting offers that are not what they're expecting, right? Not their asking price, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not market value, or really in line with market value, or whatever the case is.
Okay.
Then obviously that in and of itself should play a lesson. Like sometimes the
It
numbers do the
should.
talking.
It
The numbers do the talking, my friend. Listen, Mr. Seller, I'd love to sell your property for 1.2, but take a look. The past 3 offers we've been getting are, 990, 1, whatever.
Not everybody wants to hear the logic, my friend.
Right. No, trust me, I know.
As much as you're like,
I'm in
well,
sales too, and I know this.
You're like, hello, isn't this a telltale sign that you are not where you think you are? And they're like, I want my price. It's like, well,
You know what I realized? People want to hear what they want to hear.
yes,
People want, especially if you're in any form of sales, regardless of what you're selling, right? People have their desire for a specific outcome, right? And if what you're selling is not exactly matching what their expectations are, then you have to either showcase it a certain way that's appealing, right, or manage expectations, or whatever the case is. But oftentimes people just want to hear what they want to hear, and
without a doubt.
yeah,
I mean, there's so much to unpack, man. I mean, the reason why I love this business so much is because it really, if you want to become really, really good at it, you have to constantly be willing to pivot and learn,
I agree.
And I'm so far from where I want to be, but I know that I'm very much capable of getting to where I want to be. So
Absolutely.
it's just,
Capable, and you're very
there's
driven. You're
so
very driven
much.
too, yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
There's so many nuances. So, for example, I was talking to my buddy actually while we were setting it up. My buddy Itamar.
Okay.
Shout out to you, Itamar. Love you, man. Say the dude's been my friend for so long, man. Just a wonderful dude. So we,
Sure.
you'd actually really like him.
Sure.
So we were having a conversation about certain appointments and how you can strategically work to create a better opportunity. So let me give you a funny example.
Yeah.
If you have a 65-year-old single guy who has a $2.3 million property, okay, I can go on that property myself and have the conversation. And that client may be very analytical, data-driven, may want to see that I have my numbers, meaning that I have a certain amount of sales, that I've done sales in that price range. So if I know I haven't done sales in that price range, what am I going to do? I can go on that appointment alone and do the best that I can.
Sure.
But there's a high likelihood he's going to say, well, you're a great guy. You look good. You speak well, but you don't have experience.
Right.
So what do? You decide to co-list with an agent who's capable and who has done those deals.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, you're going to have to split your commission, but splitting your commission is better than no commission at all. And in that, you also learn how to.
You have that on your book.
You have that on your book. You've now closed that kind of deal, right? And as the seller is going to appreciate that you didn't just say, I'm not a fit for it. I lost it to someone who is. No, you went out and found a realtor who you could partner up with, and the seller wins because the seller now has two agents working for him for the same price. The agent that you brought on has a deal because you brought him on, and you obviously win. Everybody wins.
Higher likelihood of closing. Absolutely.
What loss? Who loses in that situation?
Absolutely.
It's a win-win-win. You know what I mean?
And I think that I'm just going to take it a step further. I think that it's the tenacious agents that really don't take no for an answer, and not that they're stubborn, not that they're ignorantly stubborn, but that they understand, okay, I have some setbacks. I have some things that are holding me back from potentially closing this deal or getting this listing or whatever the case is. And they understand that they need to potentially partner up or do whatever the hell they need to do to get that thing done, right? It's the tenacious agents that really recognize that and take the active steps towards changing that actually get shit done and rack up the experience. Because every agent, your business and any business, right? Everybody starts right here. Everybody starts right here and they want to get to here, right? But everybody starts here. Everyone's got the same starting point, right? People have certain advantages, disadvantages, whatever it is. But everybody starts anew without any experience. And so it's how you go about, getting that experience and tackling what's in front of you that I think will, change the outcome of agent A versus agent B or any salesperson in any industry. Frankly speaking, and I've seen it in my organization. I've seen it in my past experiences and in other organizations. It's give the same starting point, give the same leads, give the same opportunity to two different people, and you'll see very different outcomes just based on the person. And you give the same training, you give the same support, same everything, and one person will outperform the other because he'll just make it work out.
What's interesting?
Yeah.
Hold your thought.
Yeah.
You might even have one, and we can even move away from agents, but you may even have one salesperson or one employee, whoever it is, who may pick up the work faster than the other one.
That's true.
But if you go down the road of 5 years, if the person who's willing to sit there and dig and work his fucking ass off,
in
5 years may highly likely come out on top versus the other guy who picked it up faster. Because that's sometimes, and this is a very profound thought, there's oftentimes these people that pick things up very quickly, and they're intelligent, and they grasp things very, very easily. But because they're so used to that, and they kind of have this, I wouldn't call it an ego necessarily, but this confidence of like, oh yeah, if I read something, I'll get it in 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
They sometimes don't have the work ethic component.
Absolutely.
So they're just okay with the bare minimum of, okay, well, I know this and I understand it.
Because they're satisfied by the idea that they know that they can achieve it if they actually, put effort into it. And that satisfaction in and of itself satisfies them.
Right.
Just that concept, knowing I can do it if I really want to, because I did a little bit of effort and I already got some results. Obviously, it's
good enough. I got this.
It's good enough. Yeah, absolutely. So, I hear what you're saying 100%, dude.
And then when you have that person that doesn't necessarily get it as quickly, but they're willing to sit there and fucking murder it until it happens.
I've heard this.
There's things, and I'll talk about me.
Yeah, please.
There's things that I get quickly, and then there are things that take me time. And I think that happens with everybody.
Like anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. A very wise man once told me, hard work beats talent, right? And I don't think that necessarily applies in all cases, right? But I can tell you this, that hard work goes a long way, and not many people are actually willing to do the work that it actually takes, right? That extra grind, that, going the extra mile, really applying yourself, the sweat equity, knowing that every single day I gave it not 90%, I gave it 110%. Not many people are actually willing to do that. And so when you do that, right, ultimately, the compounding effects of what you learn and the experience that you gain, and what happens is it's unbelievable just by working hard. I think that's half the battle right there. You got to have an ability to also pick up things along the way, even if it takes you a little bit more time than the guy next to you. That's okay, whatever happens. But if you outwork everybody around you, I think, and I've seen it, but I think that is just going to take you so much farther than you initially planned on.
Here's
going.
another beautiful point to add to it.
Yeah,
is knowledge compounds. So when you so here's an interesting perspective. When you grow up in a lower class or a middle class home financially, your parents likely didn't have the knowledge to give that over to you from a young age. So even if they didn't directly tell it to you, it was spoken around you. So that those talks of financial knowledge, of wealth, of saving, of investment, it's been kind of sprinkled down on you from a young, not you, but and as these kids get older, they don't necessarily realize it, but it's been put into them for years. That confidence of building wealth, that confidence of walking into a room and talking to whoever. The benefit of growing up with rich parents is oftentimes you have this confidence you don't even realize you have because you've been surrounded by that.
Sure.
So you're used to it. But when you grow up in a poor environment, that wealth it's a distant thing.
Yeah.
And it's intimidating.
Yep.
So when you're younger, you're like, oh, look at those rich people and their nice cars and their nice houses.
Absolutely.
I don't even know. I've never even seen this before.
It's a rich person's thing.
Much of it's mental.
I agree.
And when you grow up that way and you learn how to switch that, and you go, it's a fucking house. So it's 20 times bigger than the house I grew up in, but it's a fucking house. It's got walls, it's got doors, it's got paint. Yeah. It's a fucking house. Yeah. He just has more resources to afford that house. Yeah. How do I get the resources to afford that house? Yeah. How do what does he know that I don't? Yep. And you realize he's human. He poops, he shits, he eats, he walks. How do I figure out what he did, and how do I get it? And that's what you have to realize. And the funny thing is, when you start to learn things, you learn them quicker. So initially, when you're starting to learn something, it takes a while.
Correct.
And then as you go and as you learn, you start to get more confident in your ability to learn, and and things start to happen faster.
Agreed.
Podcast, real estate, whatever the case is, women, men, dating, whatever, you figure it out and things start to click faster.
I've also seen it the other way where, yes, maybe you were, let's just say you grew up well off, right? And you see that these things are attainable. I've seen it also where people realize that it's right there and they don't have to work to attain it because they already have it in some sense, right?
It's a massive downside also.
Massive downside. So it's a double-edged sword. You don't really choose how you grew up, but you do. You just grow up the way you do. And ultimately, it can also play negatively. I think it's really on the parents or whoever raised you to decide how to raise you and to instill certain values like work ethic, like realizing that all this shit that we have, all these nice things that we're surrounded by are not to be taken for granted.
Also, it's you didn't do anything to earn them.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's
absolutely.
I know people that grew up, like I have friends, they've grown up very wealthy.
Yeah.
And some of them didn't have that work ethic pushed, meaning they were given things. So as they get older, they find that a lot of the challenges that they have now, I've already gone through years ago.
Yeah.
And now I know exactly what they are when I see them. As soon as I see them, I go, oh, that's that thing. I can do that thing. I fucking dealt with that shit a million times.
Absolutely.
Well, you don't want to deal with it a million. Let me backtrack. If you're dealing with it a million times, it's a problem. You should have dealt with it a while ago, and now when you see it, you quickly move around it. And you quickly pass it. But the point is, they are now realizing what it is, and I'm like, oh, I've seen that years ago. So I think either way, growing up rich or poor has its benefits. The question is, how do you deal with that? So if you grow up poor, you have a choice to stay poor or become rich and learn.
Agreed.
If you grow up rich, you either have the opportunity to become richer, right? Because you have a massive upside.
Absolutely.
And you can learn to decide to kind of go through your own struggle and continue to work for it. So for instance, I'll just throw random people out there. There is the Alexanders who are very pretty much the top team in the U.S. in terms of realtors.
Yeah,
and they grew up very
Israeli
wealthy.
duo?
Yeah, they grew up very wealthy, but they still bust their asses.
Absolutely.
Do they have a huge upside? Do they have huge connections as kids? Yes. And if they're here and this guy's...
you know what they did is they leveraged that network.
I'm about to compliment them.
Yeah, of course.
About to compliment them.
Yeah.
Because they could have been lazy rich kids who did jack shit, and they decided to build a massive brand. They have their own brokerage now. They're killing it.
Very impressive.
All respect to them. You know how many rich trust fund babies are out there that don't do jack?
Absolutely.
Tons. So at the end of the day, they took what they had. They took the resources. I could have been born rich. I wasn't. But it could have happened to... They didn't choose it. So they took what they had. They made the best of it, and it is what it is. So anyone who hates on them for it's stupid. What's
your take on motivation or this instinctive drive that certain people like them have? There are people who grew up poor who have that drive. There are people who are like them who grew up with with a lot of advantages that also have that drive, and there are people who also don't have that drive and grew up both.
So you know what I think it is?
What's your take on it?
I think it has to do with two major components. I think it has to do with parenting, and you have two rich parents. You have the one parent who is wealthy and just gives to their kids and doesn't teach them. And then you have the parent who may even give to their kids but teaches them along the way, who says, hey, I had to bust my ass to get here. You're going to have to learn to some degree what I learned. And then and if you have
I'm going to discern in my own head which is which.
Okay.
Which parent is which?
Well, we're not talking about mother and father. We're talking about different sets of parents.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about mother and father.
No,
okay.
We're talking about...
All right.
One rich mother, husband and wife, another rich husband and wife. So you have parents A and parents B. So parents A are, hey, sweetie, we'll give you whatever you want. You can go to Monaco and we'll give you money to rent the Ferrari so you could drive around and pick up a beautiful girl and do everything you want to do, and it's going to be so fun.
Right.
And then we're going to die, and we're going to give you our $50 million inheritance, and everything's going to be wonderful.
What a life, right? What a life.
And then the kid's on pills, on fucking antidepressants, because he's never accomplished a thing in his life. And then you have the other dude who grew up with a similar amount of money in his family, where the father sits him down and says, hey, buddy, listen. You lived in a nice house. You went to a private school. You had nice clothes.
Absolutely.
All the girls thought you were cool because you could throw all these parties. But here's the deal. If you don't accomplish anything on your own, you're going to be very unhappy. Okay, and this is what I plan on doing with my kids. And I'm going to say, hey, I busted my ass to get here. And you enjoy a life that I sweat and fucking killed myself for so that you can have. So if you don't, I don't need you to go through what I went through. But in order for you to be happy, and I'm doing you a favor, in order for you to be happy with your life, you're going to have to put yourself through some difficult things, or else you're going to find yourself very unhappy. Because as men, it really is anybody, but especially as men, if you don't go through hard times, you're not really going to feel that happy. So
Absolutely.
So that's what I would say as a rich parent. And I think that's the difference between... and I don't know how, for instance, the Alexanders grew up, but I have a feeling their father probably instilled pretty strong.
That same kind of discipline, absolutely.
Probably said, hey guys, I grew up in Israel. I don't know, maybe their grandparents were rich, but I have a feeling it's probably the father who built the wealth.
Yeah.
So I would say he probably said, hey guys, you had it pretty good, but here's what I did. And they probably respect him and admire him, and they said, you know what? We don't have to lift a finger, but we know what our father had to do to get here,
and we will.
And we're gonna show him. We're gonna prove to him that we have that work ethic too.
Absolutely.
I think that's just what it seems. I could be totally misreading this.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And
that's what it sounds like.
And I just to use the word another time, like there's a lot of credence to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a mentor. There's a mentor of mine who's pretty active in in my life goals and all that stuff. And he constantly states, right, he's a Jewish fellow, and there's a saying in Hebrew, and I'll translate it to English. It's, through your pain shall be your reward. Meaning, if you don't go through enough pain, you won't see the rewards. And almost by proxy of that, like by extension, the more pain that you go through, the more reward you'll see. Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes it's crazy, it can be crazy to think about, but it's also pretty intuitive as a man. That when you work hard at something, you'll finally see those, exponential results. Like anything, like the gym, like working out. Eventually, the pain, it hurts to do the bench press. It hurts to lift this much weight, right? But you know that you're going to build your muscle. You know that you're going to see the rewards of whatever your work is.
And people also admire the shit out of people who do that kind of thing.
Absolutely,
people gravitate towards people that do that.
Absolutely.
Nobody gravitates towards
agree.
people that fucking bitch and sit and do nothing. It's just
Anybody can complain. Anybody can complain and just say, whatever.
Andrew Tate put out a video. Everyone's talking about him.
Everybody's talking about Tate.
He put out this video recently about depression, and it really just
tell me about it. What is it?
He pretty much was talking about Robin Williams.
Okay.
And this is there's not 1 second of what he said that I can disagree with.
Okay.
This is what was amazing when I said depression wasn't real. I said, because I was getting attacked by, all the Avatar, Anon characters. I'm depressed. You don't understand. My friend killed himself, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, if depression is really so horrible, why are you all defending it so fervently? So it's real. It's so powerful. It's real. Why are you defending this horrible thing? Why don't you sit there and go, you know what? You're right, Andrew. Fuck depression. But they want to defend it because it's an identity. It's something that allows them to feign individuality. It's something that allows them to, it's an excuse. It's a ready-made excuse for all of life's failures. I'm a loser, but it's not my fault. But depression. That's all it is. It's a fucking coping mechanism. I don't believe it. I do not believe in depression. I believe if you really feel terrible and someone were to come along and give you $10 million, you'd probably feel a bit better. Also, just to quickly touch on this, because every time I say this, people come at me and think they're smart. And they say, well, what about Robin Williams? He was famous. He killed himself, blah, blah, blah. And I say, yeah, and I'll tell you why he killed himself. He killed himself because of people like you who are telling him depression is real, not people like me.
Right.
When Robin Williams was in therapy for 10 years. If he would have walked into his first therapy session and his therapist said, look, Robin, you're a millionaire, you're famous, you can fuck any woman alive. You coming here is insulting to people with PTSD and genuine conditions, which I believe is different. If you've been through some real shit in a war, fine, you could be depressed. If you're just Joe Schmo and nothing's happened to you, you have no reason to be depressed. I'd say, look, Robin, you've got a fantastic life. You coming here is insulting to people with real issues. Grow up and get the fuck out my office. I guarantee he'd still be alive. But instead, they start giving him mind-altering drugs, antidepressants, they fuck with his brain chemistry, they tell him to sit down, and for 10 years, every day, go through every bad thing that's ever happened to you, so you cry your eyes out. After 10 years of that, I'd jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
Of course, he thought, I can't handle another one of this therapy bullshit. And the whole time, they're telling him, you're never going to get better. You're never going to get better. Depression's got you now. There's nothing you can do. It's in your brain. Like, come on, man. This whole idea of depression being the scariest thing in the world is what's making people kill themselves. You're giving these people no hope.
Robin Williams committed suicide.
Yeah.
Robin Williams was wealthy. He was loved. He was funny. He was charming. He
Had
committed
everything.
suicide.
Yeah.
And he said, and Tate said, I think the problem with what happened with Robin Williams was that his therapists took him over the edge. If I was his therapist, I'd say, you're rich, you're successful, you're funny, you can get whatever woman you want.
Right.
There are people who have it so much worse than you. What the hell are you complaining about? But he articulated, honestly, he articulated better than I did.
He's a very articulate dude.
And there are so many people that will get triggered and all bitter about this, but it's like, in the grand scheme of things, buddy, what the hell are you complaining about? It's like, you might have challenges. We're not negating you have challenges, but when he sat down with these therapists, the likelihood is that these therapists wanted a profit, and he was in therapy for 10 years. So what are these therapists telling him constantly? It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to be negative. It's okay to be unhappy. And they're validating his feelings instead of saying, buddy, get off your ass. Stop feeling bad. Sorry for yourself.
But this is, and I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying.
I know this is tough love, man, and people will disagree with me. But the reality, bro, is it's perspective. It's like
it's all about perspective. But this is the question. This is a question, right? Not that I necessarily take this stance, but what more does he have to strive for? I mean, he can strive for more, of course, but he's already at this apex of life. You know, think about it. He's already here, and he can. I'm sure he's just lived and enjoyed it for a number of years, decades, whatever it is, right? But eventually, you know, maybe that got boring to him. Maybe that got
so boring is not enough.
Maybe boring is, listen, whatever. Boring is just a word. maybe he felt like he did not have more to strive for, right? I don't necessarily know. I'm just speculating to conversation, right? But
I'm going to go out and say, I'm going to come out and say this. I think the only time somebody has a valid excuse for suicide is if they were in war.
No, I'm not condoning suicide, by the way.
If they were at a war and saw their friend's head get blown off, or literally outside.
Well, you don't know what he went
outside of
through.
a brutal war. Outside of a brutal war, I really, I can't say I don't understand suicidal thoughts to some degree.
Okay, I think that what we should do, and
I know this is very heavy, dude.
No, I'm down with this conversation, but I think that most people can't really relate to Robin Williams in this whole scenario. But what's your take on the average man, or the man who is contemplating suicide, who's not Robin Williams? Because I think that's a lot more applicable to this conversation and people that are listening to this conversation.
I think suicide is a cowardly thing to do, and my grandmother told me this.
I'm with you on
my grandmother had a very, 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 very hard childhood. Her parents died when she was young. She was dirt poor. Her aunt and uncle raised her, and they treated her and her sister, my great aunt, horribly. I mean, my grandmother's been through it, bro. Like, she's been through it. And she told me when I was a kid, she's like, suicide's for cowards. And when and I was like, what do you mean? And I never, ever had a suicidal thought, but I was like, what do you mean by that? She's like, even if you hate your life, even if you want to take your own life, there's so many people that love you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so there's the collateral damage
all the people that care about you.
Yeah, there's the collateral damage of doing the suicide.
So it's
how it impacts them, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But ultimately, I think that the people who are considering it, right? And I'm just trying to tap into a little bit of my empathy here, right? Uh-huh. I think that the people who are considering it probably don't even care so much. Not that they don't care, but that's not enough of a factor for them to consider it. Like, they've considered everything. They've considered their mother, their father.
I'm trying to be sympathetic and empathetic to it. But at the end of the day, bro, if we're talking about Americans, listen, man, there's all kinds of horrible things that people go through, right? I mean, there's men in prison who get, there's women who've gotten, multiple, there's horrible.
There's everything. There's
horrible
a lot of
stories
that
that people go through that I haven't gone through, that I am sensitive to, and that I understand that it's absolutely terrible, and I get it, and I feel for them. I'm not saying, fuck you, you have no right to be sad. I get it. But the thing that has to be thought about is there's light.
Life gets better.
There's light. There's light to the end of the tunnel, and there's challenges that I am grateful I haven't been through, because, bro, if I, there are, kids, they're adults now, but there are kids who've been, unfortunately sexually abused and all the, and that's a challenge that I'm so grateful I didn't have to go through. Yeah. And that's a challenge that definitely can bring you to suicide.
Big time.
But there's people who got through it and were able to teach people and mentor people and grow from it, and they use that as a tool to help people. And it's like, I can't say
if they were able to tap into their inner strength, or they had some sort of lifeline thrown at them by somebody who was strong and who gave them, like a helping hand, climb out of this. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and the thing is, yes, I agree with you. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? Mm-hmm. Life can get better. Whatever happened up until now in your life, it was just circumstances of your life. They were just experiences. They don't have to necessarily define everything in your life right now. You have to define you. You can define the rest of your life going forward very differently, and you can paint the picture of what your life is going to look like very differently just by taking certain actions. You have to obviously address the past, but ultimately, not everybody, I think, right? Not everybody can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel or believe that it exists for them, right?
That's why, by the way, I think it's super important for people who have, and anyone who's listening to this, if anyone's listening to this and is very depressed or suicidal and they hate me right now, you need to talk about it. You need to talk about it to the right people. So you need to talk about it to someone who gives it. Because if I had a friend that was suicidal, I would hug them. And
absolutely.
I have a friend, and I'm not going to say who it is.
Okay.
I have a friend whose brother committed suicide.
Okay.
And that friend was obviously going through it because he lost 2 siblings. One of them was unfortunately lost his life in an accident. Okay. Another one took his life.
Very unfortunate.
And I love this dude. one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I got him a flight to come hang out with me in Florida to like just be with me for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I fucking felt for this dude. I was like, I can't even imagine the challenge you're going through.
Yeah, for sure.
But I told this kid, I was like, if you ever fucking dare think about doing it yourself, I'll kill you first.
No, because it's like, but it's probably not a thought.
Hold on.
He's
a tough dude. He's a great dude. But regardless of what he's going through, I was like, if you even think about it, I'll kill you first before you. Because I don't mean it like.
Yeah.
I just mean like, don't you fucking
don't you
dare.
dare. Don't you fucking dare. Yeah.
Because there's too many people that bro, the dude, everyone loves this guy. Okay.
Yeah. And is it just a question about his overall like temperament, personality? Is he a social guy?
Oh, very social.
Very social guy, and he's expressed these thoughts to you.
No. He's not set. No.
He's not. He's not. Right. He's fine.
He might have had the thoughts and didn't express it. I don't think he'll ever do it.
Okay, but there's no reason for you to think that he would ever consider that.
No,
right?
no. I think
you're
he's
just
tough.
you're just
I don't
talking
think I
about
can't
it.
even believe he might even listen to this. He's definitely not doing it.
Right.
But the point is,
no. So this is not a guy who came to you and like he's in this shitty state of mind, and
he was because like if that happened to me, I'd be fucking probably thinking about like I can't even imagine what I'd think about if I had a brother who did that. Listen, it's a horrible tragedy.
These are tough things.
The point is, bro. I don't know what his brother went through.
Yeah.
But I say that his brother, as much as he might have been going through a horrible experience, what he did to his family, like, and it's like, how could you say that to someone who's suicidal? It's like, but bro, you were loved by people. Like people are now they're broken. They'll never be the same again.
For sure.
And it's like I get that you didn't want to live anymore, but it's like you also shit's temporary.
I agree.
Like, what if
grief?
Think about all you missed out on. Yeah. Think about all you missed out on. Like, all right, you're going through hell right now, but think about all the good that can come out of it. Give it some time.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
You're just gonna.
But it's but I'm just thinking the time, the interim when they're feeling that grief is probably so fucking hard and hardcore that for them to think about light at the end of the tunnel, light is distance. You know. It getting better is distant.
So you know what?
So
there's a fighter in the UFC, Paddy Pimblett.
I don't know him, but okay.
He's this British dude, and he has a friend that that committed suicide recently, and he after his fight, he announced on the mic, he's like, if anyone's thinking of committing suicide, talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That's the best. You need to talk to someone that cares about you. And that's, I think,
I'm 100% with it.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that the biggest. And again, I've never had a suicidal thought in my life.
Yeah.
But if you are feeling that kind of feeling, you gotta go to somebody.
I agree.
And I know, and like people who are listening, just like, well, you've never felt that way, so how could you say it? It's like,
yeah, but these people also probably think like, who can relate to me? You know, think about it. Like, who's
no one's going to be able to.
Nobody, right? Exactly. Which is why
not even another. By the way,
these are isolated thoughts.
Not even another suicidal person will be able to totally relate to that person's story.
I tend to agree. Yeah.
Well, the reality of the world is everyone's got different challenges. You have a choice as a human being. And people like to put these limits on themselves. Well, I have clinical depression, and I have this, and I have ADHD, so I can't, and I won't, and I'm not able to.
It's a victim mentality. That's what it is.
That's it.
Nothing more than that.
You have to be willing to take fucking accountability and realize that you either will or you won't. You either can or you can't.
Right.
And the more you say you won't, then you won't. The more you say you can't, then you can't.
I agree.
And life's gonna life's gonna shove a broomstick up your ass.
One way or another, one form or another, you're going to face challenges for sure.
Yeah, and it's up to you. It's up to you whether you put the broomstick farther up or you try to take it out.
Yeah, that's on you. That is on you, and it might be a fight to take it out, right? It might
be a good analogy, but
it might be a fight. It's going to be hard.
There's not going to be any lube on it either.
No lube, dude. It's going to be painful, man. Shit's going to be very painful. But think about when it's out. Think about when it's out.
Dude, it's going to come out. You're going to crack it over your knee. You're going to throw it off the balcony, and that's it. And you beat your chest, and that's it.
I'm ready.
It's a very empowering thought, and it's a wonderful thought, and I really wish that most people thought this way. And for whoever's listening, this is phenomenal, advice, and this is a great way to reframe your mind. But it's challenging. Absolutely, it's challenging. But with every challenge comes its perks, and its rewards, and it does get better. Absolutely. So I definitely agree.
Dude, I mean, Patrick Bet-David was talking about. He just put out a reel that I loved. I love it, dude. The guy's
amazing dude. Amazing dude.
Just spits gold all day long.
Amazing dude. Nothing
And
but tremendous value.
He was saying, he's like, when you're winning at a high level and you're winning often,
Right.
you get used to that winning and you think it's going to happen forever, and it doesn't. And when you're losing and you're losing for a while,
Okay.
you think you're going to lose forever.
Right.
And he's like, when you're going through tough times and,
Yeah.
and you feel like it's never going to change,
Right.
you need a good dose of positivity. Read a positive book, watch a positive movie, go to a dandelion farm, whatever the fuck you need to do to feel positive.
Yeah, I hear.
You need a dose of positivity. When you're going through a lot of positive, you might need a little bit of a reality check. So it doesn't mean you should be negative, but just understand that don't get too cocky. You're enjoying amazing wins. Right now, I get on Joe Rogan tomorrow. My podcast blows up. 150,000 followers. I'm living the life. I'm fucking. Money's coming in. I'm chilling. I'm like, I tell all my friends. I'm feeling great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, God forbid, whatever, just some unfortunate situation.
Things can happen, yeah.
So it's like celebrate your wins, be positive. I'm not saying to not do that, but understand that anything can happen. Be humble, appreciate what you've gotten, work towards more. Try to get more and more success, but something along the road is going to come around and knock you off center a little bit, because that's just how the world works.
And these are words of gold, absolutely. No, dude, PBD just speaks nothing but value.
Yeah, he's not saying to be negative. He's just saying that, like, whether you're going through tough or good times, understand that everything you go through is going to have a level of I don't know if there's a temporary. Is there a plural word for temporary? But there's going to be a level of there's going to be a temporary period to everything you're going through.
Sure.
You know, and even if you
ups
make
and downs,
money,
ups and downs on both ends.
Even if you make money,
Sure.
if I make $1 million tomorrow and it compounds every single day, whereas in 5 years I'm a billionaire and I never lose my wealth, I'm always wealthy. There are non-monetary issues.
Other things.
There are non-monetary issues. You have tons of billionaires. I mean, who have
dude,
issues.
there's life is extensive.
Yeah,
life is extensive. I mean, there's the financial component. There's the social component, right? There's the family component.
Health component.
There's the health component. Absolutely. There's your professional component. There's your persona, your psychological, internal, component and view on yourself. There's everything, dude. Life is it's a ride, man. It's a fucking ride.
It's fun though, bro.
It is fun. It is fun.
I enjoy it, even when it kicks me in the ass, dude. Because you know what I realized, dude? Here's a very simple concept. If you have your health, then everything else, as hard as it may be, is not that big of a deal. Now,
I agree.
Right? Now, when you don't have your health, God forbid, and when your health is at stake, that's where shit
It's a different story entirely.
That's where shit is really
I agree.
tough and not great.
Right.
And obviously, it's not to say that you should settle. You have all your health and you're not in the best place financially or in a relationship, that you should just say, well, I have my health, so my marriage is shit and I have no money. Okay, well, at least I'm healthy. It's like, no, you should definitely always strive for better, but have perspective.
It's about perspective. I was about to say it's about recognizing that
because
as shitty as things might seem to you.
My ex-wife is not dating, what's his name, Pete Davidson, so it's not that bad. You know what I mean?
Right. As
shitty
as things
Pete
might
Davidson,
be or might seem, there are always things to be grateful for. Always things to be grateful for. And that's different across the board depending on the person. Everybody has a different set of circumstances and different set of life positives and negatives. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, you have to, before any struggle overtakes you and you think, fuck, this is so bad, recognize that there are definitely things that are going well for you. They might not seem so apparent, or they might be so fucking apparent that you don't even recognize them, right? But they're there.
Yeah.
They're definitely there to everybody. Everybody's got them. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of really just being conscious of it, because as things happen, right, it's very easy to focus on the negative. It's very easy to focus on, fuck, I don't have this. That person has that, whatever it is, right, whatever's overtaking you. But if you do first focus on the things that you do have, you'll realize maybe it's not all that bad, all that I'm hyping it up to be, and I can build on top of what I already have, and things can get better. Mm-hmm. Things can definitely get better. I'm a firm believer in that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, life's interesting. But dude, good schmooze.
For sure, man. For sure.
Thanks for coming,
sure. It's
guys.
my
I hope
pleasure,
you
man.
enjoyed this. We're gonna really, I really look forward to the comments on this because there was a lot of great bangers in here. Guys, subscribe,
Most definitely.
like, share. Eden, thank you for coming, man.
My man, it was a
Enjoying
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Don't go to New York. Stay here. Guys, until next time.